Um, Next, we're going to turn to Tonya Harris, who's the executive of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. The coalition has been a powerful partner in the Raising Rhode Island Coalition, connecting the need for economic security and freedom from violence. So, Tonya, thanks for being here, and go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Linda and Rachel, for all of your work with this, and of course to Senator Murray for supporting this most important work. Thank you to Jillian and to Desire for sharing your stories. We know this can be difficult, and we thank you for lifting your voices for those most impacted by this. You are inspiring. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Tonya King Harrison. I'm the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and we are here today to urge your support for Raising Rhode Island Works cash benefit amount. This benefit is a lifeline that many Rhode Island families, including survivors of domestic abuse and their children, turn to when they are most desperate in need. Today, survivors of abuse are facing two public health crises: domestic violence and the COVID-19 pandemic. This past year, as we try to protect ourselves from COVID-19, we have seen the risks for domestic abuse surge and demands for services for survivors and their children spike. In 2020, the Coalition's network of member agencies collectively served just over 9,000 individual victims. Over 45,000 service occurrences were provided by advocates, and just under 18,000 helpline and hotline calls were answered. For many months, we saw spikes in calls, and in 1 month, as high as a 90% increase. We have seen the many barriers survivors and their families face when trying to escape abuse become magnified. One of the biggest hurdles for survivors in their journey to safety continues to be financial insecurity. And at a time when we have so many losses of jobs and income during the global pandemic, assistance through the Rhode Island Works program is more critical now more than ever. Personally, I know the difference this program makes in people's lives. When I was a child, it was programs like this that supported my family through difficult financial times. Rhode Island is the only state in New England that has not raised the amount of cash benefits in 3 decades, as we've already heard. This cannot go on for another year. We must fix this now. The amount of the benefit, as we've heard from both Linda and the Senator, is $6 a day. And $6 a day is just not enough, especially with the pandemic causing so many immediate and long-term effects on financial stability for survivors of abuse. Survivors know all too well how the cost of living continues to rise, making it harder to access basic needs like food and healthcare for themselves and their children. The assistance we provide Rhode Islanders must reflect those increases in living expenses. Raising the Rhode Island Work benefits is more than a financial issue. It is an equity and anti-oppression issue. The burden of domestic violence doesn't affect us all equally, unfortunately. The lifetime prevalence of experiencing sexual violence, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner is 48% among Indigenous women, 45% among Black women, and 57% among multiracial women. These same communities are also disproportionately affected by poverty, oppression, and lack of access. And so we cannot continue setting up the people who need the support the most for financial hardship and deep, deep poverty. We can and must do better for all families and use the pandemic as an opportunity to emerge even stronger with more compassion and equity in Rhode Island communities. Working together, we must disrupt the systems of inequality and oppression in our state. We cannot end domestic violence without interrupting these systems that stop us short and prevent us from surviving and thriving, especially those who are disproportionately impacted by violence. We can build a better, safer Rhode Island for all, and we must do better by survivors and their families. Thank you so much for allowing me to share with you today.
Thank you, Tonya. Thank you for making those connections and also pointing out the inequities in terms of access to income and to housing and to supports that hopefully this bill will help address. I mean, I think if people just think back to the stereotype of who they think is on welfare. It says a lot about why we aren't able to move some of these progressive policies forward. So we need to keep that front and center.